Washington, D.C. Today's flow is designed specifically for athletes. This is an active recovery flow, so as athletes we tend to tense up. So our goal here is to just stretch, release tension, keep doing a little bit of work in the core, and increase our body awareness so that when we're out on the field, our endurance and our strength and our flexibility is all that much more improved. So we're going to start in a comfortable seat. So come onto your mat, and if you don't have a mat, just sit on the carpet or on a blanket, wherever's comfortable. We're just going to start by grounding ourselves and taking some deep breaths. When you inhale, feel the belly rise, maybe even take your right hand to your belly. And when you exhale, it's like a balloon deflating, the belly button pulls back into the spine. We'll even out the breath a little bit and we'll take a pause at the top. So breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath for 1, 2. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue just like that 4 more times. Breathing in, holding at the top, exhaling to let go of the air. So both your inhales and exhales are 4 counts. And the pause in between is 2 counts. Let's do that twice more. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. And once you feel grounded here, we'll make our way to hands and knees to stretch out the forearms and the wrists. So we're going to start by taking the right forearm parallel to the top of the mat. So your the palm of your hand is facing down and your forearm's parallel to the top of the mat. So typically what I do is I use my knee here to kind of massage my forearm, but that can be a little bit awkward. So perfect thing for you to do is grab your lacrosse ball, and you can actually hold that lacrosse ball in your left hand and use it to kind of massage out the top of the right forearm. And then when you're finished with that, you'll flip the forearm over so the palm is facing up. And again, you can either use your knee to just massage the muscles of the bottom of the forearm, or you can use that lacrosse ball and just gently roll it up and down the forearm, relieving tension in the muscles. A couple times on each side. If you want, you can use your left knee if that's easier. Maybe when you massage the bottom of the forearm, you go all the way down to the wrist crease. It's a lot easier with a lacrosse ball, I would imagine. And then when you're ready, we'll take that to the other side. So you'll bring your left forearm down to the ground, parallel to the top of the mat. And then you can use your left or your right knee to give yourself that little massage, really focusing on using the ball of the knee or the actual ball to get really into the muscles, trying to avoid the bones in the forearm. And once the top of the forearm feels good, you'll flip the palm over so it's face up, and you'll take those little massages or those little rolls of the ball in the bottom of the forearm. So once you've done a little bit of massage on both forearms, just come back up, shake it out a little bit, and then we'll come back to tabletop position, stacking our wrists underneath our shoulders and stacking our knees underneath our hips. So from here, we'll start to stretch out the wrists. So just rocking forward, seeing how far forward you can go, and then coming back gently. Don't go too far, using your breath here. Noticing your range of motion in the wrists. You might come here and that's enough. You might come all the way forward and that's a bit of a better stretch. And then when you've had enough of this, you'll take the fingertips to face the outside edges of the mat, and you'll take your rocks side to side. Moving to the left, right shoulder moves past the right wrist crease, and then moving to the left, left shoulder moves past the left wrist crease. And then maybe eventually you take your fingers to face your knees. Depending on the range of motion in your wrists, they might not face your knees completely. But wherever they are, even if it's more at a wider angle here, you'll just press into the heels of the hands and sink your seat back towards your heels. And keep breathing here. So when we breathe while we're stretching, we're telling the body that this is a safe place to be, and we're kind of preventing our body from freaking out and wanting to get out of it. And that's how we can get deeper into our flexibility and deeper into our stretches. And then when you're ready, just come back up and then flip the hands over so the palms are facing up, the fingers face the knees, and then just try and get the tops of the wrist creases to press down towards the ground. This one's really intense. Maybe you sink your seat back towards your heels just a couple inches. And then when you're ready, we'll come back up, have a seat on your heels, and again, just shake it out. Maybe find some little flicks of the fingers, super fast. And then we'll let that go, and we'll come to a high plank. So from tabletop position, spreading the fingertips really wide, pressing through all 10 fingers. And think about like if you had baseball mitts on, you'd be really gripping in the fingertips and not so much in like the palm of the hand. You might be able to like slip a piece of paper underneath that space between the mat and the hand. And then step the right foot back and step the left foot back. So we want to really activate our core here. Our wrists are nice and strong and prepared for this. Pull your belly button in and up, so in towards your spine and up towards your heart to activate your core. And breathe. We'll hold for 3, for 2. On 1, start to drop the knees, but not all the way. Let them hover just a couple inches above the mat. So wrists and shoulders are still stacked, hips and knees are still stacked, and knees are just a couple inches above the mat. If you're not feeling anything here, start squeezing your wrist crease towards your knees. Even though they won't move, you'll feel something in your core, and squeeze your knees towards your wrist creases. Again, they won't actually move, but you'll really start to light up the center of the body. And we'll hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, drop the knees, and find a child's pose. Stretch out the hips a little bit by bringing the knees wide and the toes to touch. And then just keep your arms long in front of you and sink the seat back towards the heels. It's totally fine if your seat does not touch your heels. If you have a blanket nearby, you can stick it in between the seat and the heels. And we'll take a couple breaths here just to reset. And we'll eventually make our way to downward facing dog. So downward facing dog looks like an upside down V shape. We'll take a moment to set up our alignment. Your feet are hips distance apart, which is the space of about 2 fists. You're still pressing into all 10 fingertips. Your shoulders are relaxed away from your ears, so you're not scrunching up like this. You're letting them go down the back. And your knees can be bent here if that feels better. You want to think about really heavy heels reaching towards the mat even if they don't touch. So this can be your down dog today. Maybe this is your down dog today. Maybe this is your down dog today. Just find something that feels good, especially in the backs of the legs. Just take a couple breaths here. And then take an inhale, lift the right leg up to the sky. reach that left heel down towards the floor, stretching out the back of the left leg. And then go ahead and curl the right knee in towards the nose and step it all the way in between the hands. So it might land here, that's okay, just use your hand to get it a little bit higher there. Drop the back knee and untuck the back toes. Find a moment here in your low lunge, stretching out the left hip flexor and the right hip. Stay here. Or maybe bring your fingertips up to the sky, finding a little balance. Keep relaxing your shoulders. And from here, find a side body stretch. Drop the right hand towards the floor next to the right hip and reach the left fingertips up and over the head, creating a lot of space in the left side of the body. And then come back to center. Plant the hands and start to straighten through the front leg. So we're finding a half split here. So the left hip is still stacked over the left knee. And you're breathing in to the back of the right leg. You should really feel your hamstring here. One of the muscles that athletes often tend to injure. So instead of going so deep into this pose right away, just ease into it. Maybe you take a couple breaths with a bent knee. Eventually you might straighten the knee all the way. You can flex the toes. That'll be a good stretch in the back of the right leg. Maybe you play with pointing the toes and notice how that kind of starts to stretch out the front of the leg. And then come back to neutral and we'll stretch out our IT band, which is especially good for conditioning and running. So go ahead, grab your right foot with your left hand and take your right foot all the way to the left side of the mat. So your right leg is kind of crossing towards the left side of the mat here. And then you're gonna walk your hands as far over to the right side of the mat as you can. And you'll start to feel a really deep stretch in the right side of the leg. So remember, if you go super far and you find that you're not breathing or you're breathing really fast, take it back a couple inches, take a couple deep breaths, and then go a little bit deeper into it. After a couple breaths here, walk the hands back to center, take the right foot in the left hand, bring it back to center, and then just crawl the fingertips forward, bending into the right knee, and step right back to your downward facing dog. Let's take a calf stretch in down dog before we go to the other side. So go ahead and lift up your left leg just a couple inches and plant it to the right side of the right leg. You're gonna bend the right knee a lot and straighten the left leg as much as you can, reaching the left heel towards the ground. You'll feel a nice stretch in the left calf. Take a couple breaths here. And then start to come back to your downward facing dog. Lift the right leg up just a couple inches. Step it to the outside of the left foot. Straighten the right leg as much as you can and bend the left knee. Your right heel doesn't have to touch the mat, but it's reaching in that direction really strongly. Awesome, and then come back to center, back to your downward facing dog. Lift the left leg to the sky, take a breath in, reach the right heel down towards the ground, stretching out the back of the right leg, and then curl the left knee into the chest and step it in between the hands. Dropping the back knee, untucking the toes, and just finding a couple breaths in your low lunge. This time we're really stretching out the right hip flexor, which is this big muscle in the front of the leg, in between the knee and the hip, and our left hip, which is one of the biggest joints in the body that we use all the time, not just in athletics, but in daily life. And from here, Maybe you take the fingertips to the sky, finding a little bit of balance here. And then take the left hand towards the left side of the mat. Reach the right fingertips up and over the mat, finding a lot of space in the right side of the body. Take a big breath in here, and on your exhale, start to come back to center, planting the hands once more, and then starting to straighten through the front leg, finding your half split. So again, you can stay really upright here. You can start to come down if that feels okay, if you have open or flexible hamstrings. But if not, just stay here, find a little bit of movement. Maybe you flex the toes to stretch the back of the left leg, maybe you point them. And if you're feeling really flexible in the hamstring, you might start to just fold forward, bringing your nose towards your knee, only if it feels good. So just find a point along that journey where you can take some deep breaths, and eventually as you use the breath to stretch the body, you'll be able to come all the way down into this full half split pose. And if you folded forward, slowly start to come up. Take the left foot in the right hand and bring the left foot all the way to the right side of the mat. Fingertips come back to center, and then walk the fingertips as far to the left as you can. You'll feel a deep stretch up and down the left leg. If you do a lot of running, this will feel super tight. It might not feel awesome, but just keep breathing and it'll eventually start to feel better. And then slowly make your way back to center, taking the left foot in the right hand, bringing it back to center, bending the knee, crawling the fingertips forward, and making your way to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, bend the knees a lot, take a peek at the top of the mat, and slowly start to walk your feet all the way to your hands. When you get there, we'll find a forward fold. So keep the knees bent a lot and just drape your upper body over the legs, grabbing onto opposite elbows, shaking the head yes and no. Again, athletes and people in general tend to hold a lot of tension or tightness in their head and their neck and their shoulders. So doing this kind of release really gives the body the opportunity to let go of that tension to improve our performance. And then just let the fingertips fall towards the mat. Tuck your chin to your chest and slowly roll all the way up to standing, one vertebrae at a time. And when you get there, bring the big toes to touch. You'll want a slight gap in the heels. It'll be about the size of a small piece of cheesecake. And we'll inhale here. And then exhale, we'll come into chair pose. So sit your hips back just like you're sitting in a chair and reach the fingertips high. See if you can peel your toes off the mat. Send your weight into your heels to activate your glute muscles. Hold here for 3. For 2, on 1, come down another couple inches, hold for 3, for 2, 1, come down another couple inches, for 3, for 2, on 1, come all the way onto your seat, and we'll make our way to boat pose. So for boat pose, we'll take a minute to set up. You're sitting up on your seat, and your shins are parallel to the mat, but your chest is really proud. So imagine that there's a string attached to your chest and somebody is pulling it. So your chest is kind of moving up and staying nice and proud. That'll engage your core. From here, you can stay with the hands behind the thighs. If it feels good, you can bring the hands out to a wide V. Take a couple breaths here, pulling that belly button in and up. One more inhale. And on your exhale, we'll find low boat. So we're gonna start to hover above the ground. So the shoulders will be off the mat and the heels will be off the mat. Stay here or start to flutter the feet. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See if you can come back up to that high boat pose. Keep engaging the core, we're almost there. For 3, for 2, on 1, come back down to low boat, hovering the shoulders and the feet once more. For 3, 2, on 1, let everything go. Just lay down on your mat. We'll take some hip stretches here, hug the knees into the chest. Take some rock side to side, massage out the low back. And then bring the feet a couple inches away from the seat. So make sure you can touch your heels with your fingertips. Just a little bit, just a slight touch there. And then keep the right foot planted. Flex the left foot and place it on top of the right knee. So the left knee is reaching away from you. So we're creating this figure 4 shape in the legs. If that's enough of a stretch, you can stay there. If you want a little bit more, you can go ahead and hover the right heel off the mat, right shin comes parallel. Maybe the hands come underneath and cross over the right thigh. So keep flexing the left foot. The toes will face towards the left shin. Keep pulling the right knee in towards the chest and keep pushing the left knee away from the chest. Really stretching into that left hip here. And then when you're ready, let it go. Bring the right foot back down to the mat, and then bring the left foot back down to the mat. Other side, grounding through the left foot. Bringing the right foot up, flexing the foot, placing it on top of the left knee. Right knee is pushing away from the center of the body. Stay here. Maybe float the toes, maybe bring the left shin parallel to the mat. Maybe interlace the fingers behind the left thigh. And again, you're pulling the left knee in and reaching the right knee away from you. You can even take your right hand and just gently press on that right knee so that it doesn't creep in towards the body. Couple breaths here. And as you're ready, you'll slowly start to lower down, bringing both of the feet down, and then taking the left foot all the way to the left side of the mat, the right foot all the way to the right side of the mat. Cactus the arms here, create 2 90-degree angles with your arms, like a goalpost or a cactus. And then just start to windshield wiper the legs side to side, just like the windshield wiper moves in the car, moving left to right. And then the next time your legs fall to the left, let them stay there for a couple breaths. Maybe take your gaze over your right shoulder, finding a little twist in the spine. And then come back to center, let the knees fall to the right. And let the gaze go over the left shoulder. Deep breaths here, allowing the body to cool down. And then as you're ready, slowly start to come back to center. And then just let the right foot go out long and let the left foot go out long. Let the arms come long at your sides. Your palms can face up or down, doesn't matter. And just rest in your final resting pose. This is called Savasana. Using this pose as an opportunity to let the body recover from all of the work that it's done, both physically and mentally. Just let your breathing be natural again. And thoughts will come up. Just let them pass by. I like to think of my thoughts as trains. I'm watching them pass by, but I'm not getting on the train. So it's just a moment of rest, a moment of doing nothing. Start to bring a little life back into the body, wiggling the fingertips and the toes. Noticing how your body might feel different. Rolling the wrists and the ankles. Maybe shake your head, yes and no. And eventually hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself one big squeeze. And we'll slowly rock back onto our seats where we started class. You can sit in a cross-legged position or up on the shins, whatever feels good. And we'll end class with that same breathing that we did at the beginning of class. So we'll take our inhales for 4 seconds. We'll pause, holding the breath for 2 seconds, and then we'll let the breath go out the mouth for another 4 seconds. So I'll cue through the first one, and then we'll kind of move through it on our own. Inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause at the top. Exhale out the mouth for 3, 2, 1. On your own 4 more times. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Hold the breath. Exhale. Bring the hands to heart center. Thank you guys so much for practicing with me today. Yoga is awesome for active recovery, for core strength, and for preventing injuries. So I hope you will continue to practice. Namaste.